year and a fresh start. Many use this time to reflect on their lives and make resolutions for the year ahead. But keeping your motivation going can be a bit of a struggle. So to help us with some tips to stay motivated is life coach Zuleka. Zuleka, thank you so much for joining me, and a happy new year to you. Talk to me about some of the common resolutions. Do you tend to have more of the personal development, behavioral change and improvement goals, as opposed to goals that are sort of out of a person's control?
So I actually see a combination of both. Many of my clients would tell me that they would like to set personal goals, quite often around health, around making money, like I've heard in one of the previous people said, and also being successful in work. But then there's also a lot of New Year resolutions around things that people actually can't influence. And it's normally those that become the problem, because those are the resolutions that people can't tend to keep.
And when we talk about resolutions that people can't necessarily influence themselves, what are we talking about here? The ones that relate to the state of the economy, for example. You could plan to have a great career, but if there are no jobs being created, that's the reality.
True, but if you break it down, you can actually influence it. And I think that's where the difference comes in. So many people think about these big goals, changing South Africa, changing the economy, instead of asking the question, what can I do to change this? And every single one of us in our own way can influence. So for example, staying positive. People talk about South Africa becoming positive. I earlier listened to President Ramaphosa's New Year's speech, and talking about South Africans coming together and sticking together. But the thing is, we see it only as a collective, instead of asking, what should I be doing?
Right.
And that's the thing about New Year resolutions. If I make it about me and what I can do, then the greater good will obviously
operating
happen.
At the micro level.
Yes.
So talk to me then about sticking to the New Year's resolutions, right? I know a lot of people, mean people, who like to make fun of people that start out at the gym, say on the 1st or the 2nd of January, and you hear people talking of resolutionists,
yes,
and saying that I'm going to wait for the resolutionists to leave the gym. Those are mean people. Now talk to me about how people can actually stick to the decisions they make, particularly around personal improvement resolutions.
Okay. So I think the first and most important element is to make sure that you're very clear on what your goal is. So many people, when they set their new resolutions, have it as this big thing. I want to be more healthy. How about I say, listen, for the next 3 months, I would like to go to the gym twice a week. So keep it very simple. If you can't articulate it in a single sentence, you actually don't have a proper goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. The second thing that you should be doing is to tell people about it. Then they can keep you accountable. If I have a secret little goal, then if I don't achieve it or don't do anything about it, then no one would know. So I need to actually tell people about it so that they can keep me accountable. Also, very important, you have to revisit that goal every single day. It is not something that I think about on the 1st of January today, and then I forget about it until the 1st of February. I need to go and write it down. That's most probably the easiest way. Put it in a couple of places where I can see it every day. Perhaps put it on your phone as a reminder. Put it on the fridge. Put it in places where you can constantly see it and remind yourself of that commitment that you've made for yourself. And then I think most important is be in a position where you can actually see yourself achieving that goal. If I have a goal to go and run 5 kilometers, I should be able to picture myself doing that, achieving it, and actually be successful. That would, if you just follow those simple rules, you should be able to stick to your goals.
What about the resolutions that have to do with quitting a certain behavior, such as quitting smoking and reducing your alcohol intake, or even eliminating alcohol intake altogether? How does one stick to those commitments?
Okay, so I think the first most important thing to remember about those are the habits. Now, habits are programmed into our subconscious mind, and it takes time to get them there. So obviously, it's going to take time to get them out of there. I always compare it to, if I ask you to go and create a footpath, then you have to cut the grass, you need to level it, You need to, for example, trim the branches. There's a lot of work. But if you then don't walk that path every day, it's going to grow over again. And that's the same thing if I want to get rid of a bad habit. First of all, I need to make sure that I every single day, pretty much every hour, remind myself of not doing that, and then to replace it with a good habit. Because the moment I take out this bad habit, obviously I create a void. So I need to fill it with something else. Now, be careful, especially when it comes to smoking, using alcohol. People quite often replace those with an equally bad habit like eating. So you need to find something, say every time when I have the urge to smoke, what I should be doing is perhaps I need to, go for a walk or drink a glass of water, but you have to replace it with something good. But the thing is all about that, reminding yourself constantly about it every minute of the day.
Hey Zuleka, thank you so much for coming through and sharing those. I really like that analogy of the footpath, right? Because if you don't walk it, it doesn't actually become a footpath. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a lovely day.
Zuleka Jasper is a life coach talking to us about sticking to those New Year's resolutions as you start 2020. Still to come in your sport. The new